Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the IMA podcast, a podcast from Newcastle University's Innovation, Methodology and Applications theme, where we talk to members of the theme, people on the steering committee and other scientists of interest about their lives, their research careers and what they hope to give and gain from the theme. My name is Andrew Fuller. I am the Web Development and Social Media Lead for the IMA Steering Committee, and I'll be your host and interviewer. A little bit about me. I work at Newcastle University. I work actually full-time in the flow cytometry core facility as an experimental scientific officer when I'm not doing IMA-related things. I've been at Newcastle for quite a while, nearly 9 years now. Absolutely love it here, obviously. Wouldn't be here if I didn't. Today we are talking to Dr. Andrew Filby, head of the flow cytometry core facility and head of the IMA theme also, about his life in research, his move into industry and what he hopes to give and gain from the IMA theme. Really great chatting to Andy. I see Andy every single day. He's my boss, but I think it really provides some insights as to what Andy's aims for the theme are, what he hopes to get for it. I'll come back at the end and wrap everything up, but without further ado, here's my conversation with Andy Filby. All right, so hi Andy. Thanks very much for joining me on our very first episode of I Am IMA, a podcast from the IMA theme. You know me very well. A bit of full disclosure at the start. We're currently sitting separated by a very small wall directly behind me and to your side. We've worked together for quite a few years now, probably 5 or 6 years or so since you've been working at Newcastle. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, 6 years, February 2015. Yeah, right at the beginning of the month.
Yeah. So just so everybody listening knows, you are my boss currently. Although you don't like me calling you that, but that's no, where we are.
I don't. We're colleagues.
Colleagues, of course. We both work at the flow cytometry core facility here at Newcastle, based in the William Leach building. And we've been working together, for quite a while, so we know each other fairly well. It's our very first podcast episode, and as the first guest, I chose to interview my boss. So we'll see how this goes. If we've still got a job at the end of this, we can't have done too badly a job. So a little bit of background on you, if you don't mind first. So we've already said you've been at Newcastle about 6 years. Whereabouts were you before you came to work here?
Yeah, so before I moved up to Newcastle, I was the deputy head running the flow cytometry core, what was then called the Cancer Research UK's London Research Institute, which a few years after I left actually transitioned fully into the Sir Francis Crick Institute, the new building partnership, I think, with the Wellcome Trust and NIMR, National Institute of Medical Research, as a flagship institute within central London.
Yeah, it's just by, it's a massive building, isn't it? It's just by King's Cross, right?
That's it, yeah. I mean, a lot of it's actually underground. Apparently, there's only a few stories above ground, and they try to minimise that impact on the local environment. So yeah, it's an incredible building. I've been there a couple of times. It's, but I don't regret the move. I'm happy to be here. I think it's a very smart move to come up here and actually, run a core myself and be able to put, the vision that I had, onto it. And I think it's gone okay. You're still here.
I'm still here. We're still here. Yeah.
So that's something. Huh?
That's it. And so when the opportunity came up for the Newcastle job, what was it about the role that attracted you to move? Because that's a big move from a bit of a change of scenery from down in London to all the way up to the northeast. So what was it that drew you to the area?
Well, I guess again that opportunity to build my own thing and build on something which it was already in pretty decent shape, but kind of take things in the direction I want to go. Northeast is lovely. We came up here, had a look at it, and luckily the family liked it too. We've got everything here, haven't we? A nice small city, but lots to do, lots to see. Got the coast, got the countryside, all the things you didn't get in when you're commuting in an hour in and out of central London every day.
That's true. Yeah, the lack of a commute is definitely a beneficial thing.
Yes,
yeah, yes. Definitely. I can imagine. Definitely. So prior to working down in London at the LRI, you obviously you're a PhD, so you're a doctor officially. Before that, where did you do your undergrad?
So I did my undergraduate. I was in University of Huddersfield.
Okay.
So I spent a total of 4 years there, but my third year I spent in a placement year at what I think was called Syngenta in those days, in Alderley Park near Manchester, in Alderley Edge.
Yes,
and
yeah.
I spent a year there. It was great working in a central toxicology laboratory there, and that's when I started doing flow. So
oh right, okay, that was your first flow back as an undergrad. Okay.
1999. So that's over 20 years, man and boy, now in flow. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. 2 laser flow caliber, fax caliber.
Still around. You can still find them.
Going, yeah. I think they've actually BD had to take them out of operation, haven't they? Allegedly, put them in a warehouse like at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, yeah. All those buried copies of the ET computer game buried in the Arizona desert somewhere.
Great. I guess what I realized, I liked immunology, and I also realized that flow cytometry was part of that, and flow is always with immunology. I've always gone hand in hand for years. I mean, one does not always exist without the other. So I got bitten by the immunology and the flow cytometry bug. Went back and did my final year, did pretty okay in the end, came out with a first class in the end of that. I'm not quite sure how, but I did. And then I was fortunate enough to go and do my PhD, and I went to the National Institute for Medical Research in Mill Hill in London.
Right,
so
yes.
Period of time there, again, working in mouse models of T-cell signaling. So worked with a lovely lady called Rosa Moiska, who's now up in Edinburgh. And we had a lot of nice mouse models looking at T-cell receptor signaling, knockouts, mutants, and inducible systems as well. So I spent a lot of time doing flow,
Yeah.
And then went on to do some postdocs there, a couple of postdocs there, short one with Rose and another short one in viral immunology. And then decided that I wanted to try and do something different. I didn't want to go into the classical, career pathway. And I spent 2 years working for scientific sales companies. One year working for Thermo Fisher as an application scientist specialist, and then another year working for basically Amnis, the guys who brought us the image stream system.
Yeah, now a member of Luminex, aren't they? Bought Luminex.
Yeah. So I really fell in love with those guys. Actually, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, you've had a kind of a linked career with imaging flow technology. Yeah. So since then, you've definitely been a go-to expert in the field, and a quick Google of your name will throw up a variety of links to papers, and you can find those papers on the flow cytometry website and the IMA websites. And yeah, he's definitely a key part of the career so far. It's like things we're still doing here in the core as well. We've still got projects on the go with the image stream, and just got another instrument from Amnis incoming as well. So we'll be excited to get used to that and get some people to use that as well. So that's great. So that's really, I didn't realize you had a year out in industry, because in your undergraduate, I also did that in my third year. It was a real eye opener for a different way. Having spent a long time, you feel like you've been in learning for a very long time by that point. If you consider all the way through school.
You can't judge whether you're going to like the lab job without doing it, and it becomes a vicious circle otherwise. And I think it certainly helped me. And to be fair, one of the connections I made while doing my year out at Syngenta was a guy who had worked at the NIMR years ago, so it was very useful for making connections. Kind of getting a bit of a foot in the door. I mean, obviously, when you got your foot in the door, you still have to impress, but it did help. It definitely helped.
Sure, yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely better. It's something I've talked to people about, my nephews and nieces that are kind of getting to that sort of age of picking UCAS and those sorts of things. And finding a course that still offers that is a real benefit. And I've definitely felt the benefit since doing that when I took a year out in industry as well. So if we go just to chat about the IMA theme, obviously that's what we're both members of that steering committee. You're the one of the theme leads, which is obviously a great thing for you and for the core facility as well. But just as you're one of the leads, I'm one of the social media and web design lead on that.
Not one of, you are the.
I'm the only. Yeah, sorry.
It's the definitive.
That's very true. Very true. So with the IMA themes, obviously those haven't been around for. They're not old themes. These aren't things that have been around for an incredibly long time. So specifically talking about the IMA theme, do you know how that the idea for that theme came about? Who was it that first brought up that something that was innovation, methodology, and application? We haven't actually said what the IMA stands for yet. Hopefully, people know by the time they listen to this. But how did that kind of ideas start?
So I believe it was a sort of a concept that was developed by Professor Andy Blameyer, who's the dean currently of the Translational Clinical Research Institute, or NUTCRI as they call it. I think he liked this idea of bringing together, technology and methodology, particularly, focused within the faculty, within the new structure. I mean, again, people probably know the new structure: 3 institutes, biosciences, translational clinical and public health science. So the idea is kind of going right across from this sort of discovery to, the translation of that discovery to the actual physical application of that discovery within the population. So it makes a lot of sense. And the idea is these research themes, I think there's 21, 22 or so. We are one of them. And the idea, we cut across those institutes. So we have memberships from all the different institutes, from many different disciplines, which is beautiful. And I think one of the things that was really exciting about the concept of the IMA is that, it's not traditional in terms of how it's going to be regulated, in terms of it having a presence in all 3 institutes rather than only being, say, affiliated to one particular institute like many of the other themes are.
Sure, yeah.
And what that means is great as well. It means there's opportunity for having co-leads. So I lead within the Biosciences Institute, Kieran Hollingsworth within the Translational Clinical, and then Dawn Tier in the Public Health and Sciences Institute. And that gives that opportunity to have a presence. For example, we all now sit, all 3 of us will sit on each individual institute's executive. So we have that ability to, put our opinions in and really lobby, I guess, for this innovation and methodology and technology agenda. It's an innovative theme as well, because, the very nature that, I was able to become the lead for the Biosciences Institute, I'm not, let's say, traditional in that role, because I'm not an academic staff member.
Sure.
In the university. I mean, I don't think we should get too deeply into this, because I probably have some quite strong opinions. But essentially, I think it's good that we're breaking down barriers. It's good that we're breaking down these pigeonholes. And, we are saying to people, well, one way or another, we're all involved in delivering a combination of 2 things, aren't we, in a university?
Yeah.
Education, teaching, and research.
Yeah.
And everyone's involved in that. Every person is involved in that on some level. And to come up with a research theme which doesn't then engage every person in our different job families and in that whole demographic across the faculty and even the wider university is wrong. So the IMA is very much about that. It's very much about inclusivity. It's about parity of esteem. Again, if people want to see, Andy's made a lovely website for us.
I'll get some plugs in for sure.
Yep.
research.ncl.ac.uk/IMA. So yeah, we'll throw this once we've uploaded up this. Yeah.
But the idea is that the mission goals are on that website. So there's a whole piece around parity of esteem and also looking at career development as well. I mean, my career, as we just heard, is not linear at all. It's not traditional. I've done a bit of this and a bit of that, but actually for the role I do now, understanding of commercialization, understanding of finances, sales, marketing, all these things actually fit into what we do beautifully alongside the academic background as well. So
Sure.
There's a richness that comes from diversity, and that diversity is on every level. It's every possible definition of the word diversity we within our theme.
I think I know you said we won't belabor the point too much, but in my opinion, I think having somebody as a lead to a theme like the IMA who isn't your traditional academic role, it's not a tradition. It's not the same as the other themes that we have going on. It is cross-platform. Exactly. It is spanning a lot of people, and having somebody therefore at the top of it who isn't necessarily your tried and tested straight through academic, but still has very much the same role as the academic does. We still perform cutting edge research here at the Flow Core. We still publish papers. We're still achieving grants. We're just doing it in a different way. We go for different grants, maybe.
In many ways, we're ticking all the KPIs, or whatever you want to call them, for the
exactly. Yeah. So having somebody like yourself at the top of that is a definite benefit to the members, because it's a massive. The university is huge.
It is.
Academia is a massive field, and I think people can get their focus very narrowed to go from undergraduate to masters to PhD to postdoc to PI, and never deviate from that. Or if you do deviate, then you don't work at the university. There's thousands of people that work here, and not everybody falls into that track. So the IMA is really a really powerful thing for that. I think that's a really good thing.
Yep.
just to, I'm going to touch on this very briefly, but I'm not going to talk about it for very long. But obviously, we're recording this it is the 20th of October today. So we're still heavy in the mire of coronavirus, COVID-19. Just touching on that, do you feel like how has, with your ideas for how the theme, you thought the theme would be where it is now, do you think the coronavirus has impacted where we are now, either positively or negatively, or changed how your vision for the theme, say like 12 months ago? How do you think it's impacted us specifically in terms of the theme?
Good question. I mean, I think it slowed things down a little bit, but then I would also argue possibly that it was a bit of a catalyst, a few months ago, deep into lockdown, for us to have our first IMA away day, which obviously wasn't a whole day. It was, sessions of 1 hour that were spread out over a sort of a 5-6 week period on Wednesday mornings. Feedback on those talks, those sessions, the areas we covered have been absolutely phenomenal. I think, it's definitely slowed things down a little bit. We've all become accustomed, haven't we, to interacting electronically via Zoom, Teams, and all the other different varieties. I do miss that close face-to-face interaction of people being in a room together, talking, for example, and actually seeing whether people's eyes are, lids are falling down, or whether they're jerking their head back awake again, or whether they're nodding in approval or shaking their head at what you say. Otherwise it feels a lot like, I always say this, you probably heard this joke because I have only about five jokes to repeat, but let's say some people haven't heard this comment, but a lot of the time it's like delivering a very long answer machine message, isn't it?
There's a little bit of the you speak, then I speak, then you speak, then
well, no one speaks,
but no one speaks, and there's those awkward silences that we're also familiar with, that I will be frantically exactly. It's one of those things you get used to.
I think we're on track. I do think we're on track. I think we're on track. I think we've got these great initiatives coming up. We've got the special interest groups in technology and methodology, which will hopefully create these smaller communities, which will be very inclusive and build up the foundations of what we're about. Then elevating ideas into this innovation incubator that we've been speaking about, or Cubed for short, the IMA Innovation Incubator. And I think that is very important for the university to bring together people with ideas, skills, and with the backdrop of challenges as well that we need to address, and come together as multidisciplinary teams towards grant funding or other things that we can achieve. And we do need to bring money into the university. We do. We can't be naive about that. We can bring the money in through academic grants. We can bring it in though through industry interactions and commercialization, and we have to pay for the price for doing what we do, and it's very important. And of course education as well. I can't stress this enough.
I was going to say that it's definitely, I mean, we're quite, well, I consider myself quite privileged to be in the position that we're in. We're still able to function. The core is still open, the theme's progressing, the tasks that we're trying to hit are still being hit. To be an undergraduate or a postgraduate student at this time is incredibly hard. They have my greatest sympathies, but I do feel that as a kind of cross-platform theme, we are kind of uniquely positioned to be able to offer something different to different students, and to offer that in a special way. So I know that's something we're working on in the background.
We know it, don't we, when we interact with people who are doing specific projects. They really enjoy learning about the technology and methodologies that we cover. These are skills which people can then take forward in life. They may move into other fields, other disciplines, other areas, may move from academia into industry. They move from one project to another. These things are constants, and this is what we're about, this kind of constant. And, why do we have these kind of core technology platforms? Let's talk about that for a second. I mean, we have them because we want to have experts, centralization of expertise and continuity, and also this concept of best practices as well. Making sure that all we do in data generation and data, metadata annotation, all these different things is really high standard, because ultimately some big decisions will be made from the data that comes in and out of our technology platforms. And I think this is where, again, the theme can come into that. It can build this culture of openness and collaboration and discussion and problem solving, and bringing together people from different backgrounds. And I was very fortunate this morning. I was involved in a discussion about an innovation new core.
Cool.
People from other faculties, from HAS and from SAGE, and just hearing what their vision of innovation is, and what they're doing, and then thinking how that could enrich what we do. It's very exciting. So really the theme is up and running, but the sky's the limit in a way.
Definitely. I think the thing that I'm trying to keep in my mind, and I'm sure you are as well, is that it's very easy to be insulated, and especially at these times when everybody's distant, and to keep away from everybody. And what we're trying to do, certainly what we're trying to do at the theme and on a greater level within the core, is to, okay, we have to be distanced. We can't be right next to people. It doesn't mean you can't help.
But not intellectual distancing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a t-shirt for you. We'll create our first piece of podcast merch, Phil. But yeah, I think it's important to keep that in mind. That it's easy for that to fall out of your mind if you're tapping away on a keyboard and sitting at your kitchen table or something like that. So I think that's really important to kind of keep that in your mind and focus on. So we touched a little bit on flow cytometry and core facilities. I know the IMAs are kind of uniquely positioned to be a good voice for core facilities, and you and I, having both work in a core facility, is obviously a massive part of our careers. How do you see core facilities playing a role in the IMA as it is at the moment? Do you see them hopefully getting more involved in offering projects, master's project, undergraduate projects, that sort of thing, or what do you see them having a kind of being more collaborative or having a bigger role? How do you see them interacting with the theme?
I hope they'll play a big role. I mean, that's certainly, all our colleagues and peers have a membership of the IMA on some level, either as a primary or as an affiliate member. But I think we also have to be kind of aware of the fact that, in some ways the technology hubs, or whatever they call analytics hub, or whatever they kind of call it these days, they are also, entities in their own right in some regard as well. And there's two aspects to what we do, isn't there? There's that delivery of sort of our fundamental service, our provision of certain expertise and access to that expertise. But then there's also that aspect of how we innovate. And again, had this discussion this morning, what is innovation? It's a word which is actually quite hard to define, but also kind of dangerous to define as well, because it's not up to me to tell you what is or isn't innovative. And, it could be small incremental changes that we do. For example, some of the things that you and the colleagues have put together to improve, the user experience, the training, the booking experience, the billing, all these things, that's still innovative. But of course, then at the higher end, we've got the things that you're also involved with, looking at, label-free classification of blood cells based on, a transmitted light image, rather than, spending thousands of pounds throwing antibodies on cells to find out what they bind and what they don't bind.
Of course. Yeah, definitely.
But of course, they're both innovative, but they're innovative in different levels of innovation or different aspects or spheres. So my hope, I guess, is that, it doesn't necessarily mean that the core facilities will be part, of driving that innovation forward. I think they will be, but I hope the IMA offers them a vehicle to do that. I hope it offers them a way to, engage with faculty, on a kind of a policy level, to say that, core facility people should be supported to have time to innovate, as long as, of course, that innovation can be proven to have a benefit to, the local user base, the wider user base, SMEs, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that's my hope, is that, the two things should be conflated and mixed together. We've got the facilities, we've got the IMA, and also many facility members are also members of other themes as well, just as we are. The immunology theme, the inflammation immunology theme, the self-signaling theme. All these sure. But yeah, I mean, I hope that by building this culture of innovation, which is embedded within the faculty and beyond, within the university in general, we offer people a vehicle to progress their ideas, to develop their ideas, but also develop themselves as well. What's next for careers, particularly in core technology? We don't want to hit a point where everyone's so upskilled and credible, but there's nowhere for them to develop to or to go. I mean, this isn't good. This is where we may lose people. And if we lose people, how many years and how much effort will it take to replace those people? And that concerns me.
Yeah, I know we've spoken about that concern in the past, and it's certainly present in our minds. It's something that I think needs to be discussed a little bit more openly and with a little bit less fear. As to you're not just here for a short time. You might feel like you are, but you can make a career in a variety of careers tracks available at a university, like we've already mentioned.
Retention of skills, knowledge, expertise, but also retention of people who are, part of the willing as well, the people that really are committed to, the vision of the university and the faculty, and that's important as well.
Yeah, there's no point seeing people that work well and that you work well with just walk out the door because they've not gone anywhere. That's not what we want. We want to keep good people around and keep them doing good work.
A culture of recognition and reward for hard work and discipline and innovation.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, just to just going to wrap this up. We're just kind of creeping up to the half-hour mark now. So, I know you got congratulations are in order. I know we got a big welcome trust grant through for a brand new spectral cytometer at the core facility. I also know that you were one of the key authors on that grant, and being that we are not we'll call a non-academic, not in a traditional PI role, how do you feel that impacted your standing in the core facility and in the university in general, to go from to have your name on a big grant, a successful grant, and to be held up as an important person, as a winner of a Wellcome Trust grant, without being in that academic role?
Good question, because traditionally in the university we weren't really supported nor encouraged to go after grants ourselves, and yet we were, of course, encouraged to seek funding for technologies and methodologies where possible. And I always used to joke and say, we were very much a case of always the bridesmaid and never the bride when it came to grants. Writing large chunks of other people's grants, to supporting them as much as possible, or worse, actually, in certain situations, writing nearly all of the grant, but having to hand it over to someone else because the feeling was generally that we would not have the clout or reputation to secure that grant. But I'm happy to say that the Wellcome Trust in particular have really started to change their view of, every job family, and they're looking at, the best people for the best role. So, I think it all began a little bit when I was invited a couple of years ago to be part of the Wellcome Trust multi-user equipment grant review panel, which I accepted. I was very honoured to do that. But then I thought, well, I'm going to put in a grant. So obviously I wasn't involved, this last year because I put an application in.
They probably don't want people applying for the grants to be on the board.
No,
that's
obviously that's good practice. I mean, you step away from it. So I was not involved in any of that process last year, of course, because of conflict of interest. But what I did was, I think I put together a very competitive grant. I was the PI, so I led it. I took responsibility. I engaged with 9 other researchers in Newcastle, mainly within the 2I's theme, the immunology information theme. And we put together a good package. I mean, they contributed by putting together a little, a short few paragraphs about how they would use the technology were we successful. But the thing I really realized was that, the clues should be in the name of the program. It was the multi-user equipment grant, multi-user. Yeah. So the idea there really is that, it should be going into a core. It should be handled by experts. It should be looked after, and it should be multi-user. So it shouldn't be a case of Professor X or Professor Y, just getting money to put a machine away and just use it for their own personal, purpose, right? So that was good. It was easy to sell. So we had a very, very strong science delivery, but also a very strong vision. I put in a very strong vision about how the machine would be implemented. I even did a Gantt chart. You know how much I love Gantt charts with lovely colors in there. And just showed them, and I said to them as well, I think I said in my application, I said, I would be very willing after a year to, provide usage data to show who's used it, how we've used it, and back up the claim it's multi-user. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't had specific feedback. The only feedback I got was it's successful. But I like to think that
that's the best feedback you can get, right?
Yeah. I mean, that attention to detail and that openness and that real reinforcing of the term multi-user, I think probably did us quite well there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I know when you and I would hear multi-user, anything along those lines, our first thought is always to go to, well, that's a core facility, changes people's minds. It's not a big step to go from a shared instrument to a core facility, but it's an important one. And I know we've had people come and speak at the universities at conferences that we've put on who are still kind of steadfastly refusing to admit that they're a core facility, even though they are by all intents and purposes managing one. So
the opposite, where technology has found its way into the lab of a particular group, and the problem there is that it's not really going to be open to all, no matter what. Even with the best intentions, it's just not going to be, because researchers will have their own research focus and they will have limited time and resources, and it's not really in their best interest to make it open and accessible to everyone. I mean, so I think it's a dangerous model to allow, getting controversial here at the end, but I think it's a dangerous model to allow enabling cutting edge or leading edge technologies, or even bleeding edge technologies, to be within a particular research group. And I will always advocate for the core model. I mean, obviously you'll say, well, of course you would, but
I mean, you've not always worked in a core. We've had experience in. We've been in pure academia. Both you and I have been in both pure academia. You've done postdocs, we've got PhDs. You've worked in industry. To go the core model works as a hub between a lot of those places. We work with all those people and for ourselves. So
I'm old enough and ugly enough now to know what works and what doesn't work, and I believe very strongly in the core model, and I will continue to do so till my last breath.
I'll hold you to that one. That's great. So just to wrap up, we've got what have we got coming up in the theme? We've got a seminar coming up this Thursday. Is that right?
I think it's Wednesday.
Wednesday. I'll double check that.
It's Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah,
Wednesday or I'll fill it in. That's right. Yeah, we've got and it's Dr. Zoe Ball. I think not Zoe Ball. That's that's the wrong person, isn't it? Who is it? I'm going to find this and we're going to edit this to make it all look nice.
We started so strongly, we can't finish badly. Come on.
Oh, okay. Anyway, we've got.
Zoe Wanamaker. No, we just named famous Zoes. Is that it? Zoe Wanamaker.
Yeah, just name some famous Zoes while I frantically work through. Zoe Hall. I was very close. Apologies, Zoe. That's entirely my fault. We've got Dr. Zoe Hall. She's coming to speak to us about the mapping lipids in metabolic disease and cancer with mass spectrometry imaging. So obviously that's going to be hugely interesting on a personal level for you and I. That's something we work very closely with. But I think it's going to be a really interesting talk for all the members of the IMA team. So if you are listening to this, that talk's also going to be recorded. We'll host that and we'll post that, so you can catch up with that just like you can with this. There'll be lots more coming up on the website. So hopefully our team members can keep their eyes peeled there and keep up to date with us.
One thing that's just dawned on me to say, actually, if anyone is listening and is interested, this year will probably be the last for the Wellcome Trust Multi-User Grant Award Programme. The Wellcome Trust are changing a lot of their programs and their direction and policies at the moment. So yeah, if anyone's interested in thinking more about what, some kind of enabling technologies for this call, then drop us an email and we can certainly discuss that, and maybe you can put it through the Innovation Incubator program to try and engender more discussion and talk.
Yeah, I love it. That's a really great idea. Yeah, it's important to keep people up to date. I mean, there's a lot going on at the moment, and people can lose track of the time really quickly. But yeah, thanks ever so much for joining me, Andy. I know you're incredibly busy, and I do appreciate taking some time out for this. And
great.
I'll probably see you very shortly, and you're already in the office next door. So okay, thanks very much.
Cheers, Andy.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks everybody for tuning in to the very first IMA podcast. Stay tuned to our website, research.ncl.ac.uk/IMA for further podcast episodes. Thanks everyone. Bye.